Hey y'all. So I came on so that I can take a moment to show you how to use these rewrite your story narration cards. Rewrite your story narration cards. So one of the reasons why these cards are so helpful is because a lot of times, especially as females, we internalize a lot of things. We keep things in our head, and it's sometimes it's hard to see like the solution because we're so engulfed in the problem. And so I want to take a moment to just kind of share my experience with you in using these cards. So I'm going to show you the cards that I picked and kind of tell you my story. So this is the first card that I picked, and I picked this card because I'm really stuck in between two places, like literally. I'm trying to decide and trying to make a decision whether I should stay someplace or if I should move, particularly here in my private practice. And I really feel literally stuck. Like it's an overwhelming feeling. It's an icky feeling. It's a confusing feeling. And so this picture really reflects kind of what's going on in my mind as well as what's going on in my practice. This is the second card that I chose. And this represents the path because I know that there's a path ahead. And even though this picture, it looks, it's a nice, smooth, clear path. That's what I want, but it's not what I feel right now. I mean, I feel like I'm tugged in just a lot of headspace, and things just really aren't clear. So this is where I'd like to go. In the future, this is what I want it to look like, but it's not quite there now. But I know that I'm on a path. I also know that I'm on a path and I'm on a journey. So that's why this card kind of stuck with me. This card represents time. I feel like much of my headspace is kind of pressured. Like I feel this pressure that time is escaping me because I feel so stuck. Like I feel like I don't have a lot of time, and yet I feel like I need more time. So I'm just really, really conflicted. I know that I don't want this process to take forever. And so I'm really trying to also gauge, what my timeline needs to look like so that I'm not as stressed, because I'm already kind of stressed just by the excitement of wanting to move, but also this whole not knowing piece of what it's going to look like, in the future. So time, I'm trying to just try to gauge the time as well as dealing with this like pressure to move into this next space. I chose this one because it represents the unknown. I'm just not clear. And I don't like that feeling. I don't like the feeling of not knowing and not having clarity and not being able to see what's on the other side. And this kind of what it represents, my decision and this next move kind of represents like going into this unknown. It's very uncomfortable, although I know that's where I'm going. It's just uncomfortable. I don't like it. This card, it's kind of, I just feel like, I feel like I'm going around in circles. I like literally, do I move? Do I stay? What are the benefits of moving? What are the benefits of staying? I feel like I'm just going in a circle and yet very stuck. Like this thing is it's not moving. It's just not moving. And I feel in some ways, if I don't do something, it's just going to snowball into something bigger that I'm not going to be happy with. So that's what this is. This just represents me feeling stuck and just like dead in the water kind of feeling. So what I do with the Rewrite Your Story narration cards is I kind of sit them out and look at them and just give some space between myself and what I'm feeling. And I'm noticing that as I'm talking about these things, I'm also feeling a little bit in my chest, a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of tension. I feel like my heart rate is pumping just a little bit more fast. And I also feel a little something in my lower back. And the reason why I'm saying this to you is because our body, our nervous system also gives us clues and categories to what we're experiencing. It's not just here in our head. It's not just what we're feeling emotionally, those emotions, but it's also viscerally. So it's also something that is showing up in our body. This is how just my frustration and my nervousness about this whole next move is showing up, and it's showing up here, and I also feel it in my left shoulder. I'm not quite clear why, but these are kind of the places where I'm feeling it. So with the narrative Rewrite Your Story narration cards, now that I have this out and I am feeling it, I want to just take a moment to give myself space. So I'm just gonna, and you kind of get to see how I do this, but and I want you to see it. So now I'm just going to just sit for a minute and just kind of reflect and take a couple of deep breaths to just kind of calm myself down for a minute. So as I'm taking these deep breaths, I'm feeling a little bit more calm, and I'm noticing that the sensation is kind of going up into my head, and I feel a little bit more pressure in my head. I notice that I'm having a little, some more thoughts about, how confused I really feel about this situation. Sometimes when you're feeling something, movement is good, is really good, just to kind of move the tension out of your body. So just, again, you're getting this live and up front and in person, so I'm just focusing on the music right now. Again, just giving myself distance. And you want to give yourself enough time, ample time, to just kind of give space again and to give time away and separating yourself from the situation. So as I'm checking in with myself, I'm noticing that I'm feeling a little bit more calm. I don't have that sensation in my chest anymore. I still feel a little bit heaviness in my head, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move on. So what I would do is I'm going to journal about what I laid out. And I'm not going to do this now, but part of this process is journaling. So I will journal about that, but I'm not going to do it right now because I just want to, again, show you this experience. So now that I have given myself some space here, now what I want to do is I want to go back through the Rewrite Your Story narration cards, and I want to figure out and kind of identify the cards that are going to help me rewrite the story. Okay, so give me just a second here. So I'm going to go back through and see what actually sticks out. Okay. So now that I have gone through the cards, I'm going to go through and I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the cards that I laid out first, the cards that kind of created the problem or the situation, and see if I notice anything different. So the first thing that comes up is when I look back at this card, I'm thinking about how I was in this situation before, interestingly enough, and how I managed to make it through. So even though this is where I am right now, it's not necessarily a bad place because it does represent the fact that I'm aware that I need to make a move. So this isn't too bad. Like I'm still there, but I also recognize that it's a good thing. Growth is a good thing. So it's not as bad. It's just moving between this world to the new world. So I want to keep that one. And I feel like with this, how do I get from this place? How do I get from this place? So this was one of the cards that came up. So this is what I want to do. I want to be able to bust out of this feeling of being in between. And I recognize that when I look at this card, it represents forward movement. And she kind of looks excited. So which is what I am, even though I'm frustrated, but I'm also excited. So I like this because this shows me where I'm going and what I need to do. I need to bust out of this. I chose this card because this for me represents the team aspect, and I feel like that's one of the things that I'm missing is I'm missing that teamwork. So who are the people that can come alongside and help me? My husband is really good. He's a really good listener, and he helps me to unpack the situations, and he helps to keep me grounded and gives me insight. So I think I need to talk more with him and just kind of bounce things off of him. And then also reach out to, I feel like I need to reach out to maybe someone who's already done this and get support. So this for me represents support as I make this next step. I feel like I need a little bit more support. So I need a team. And I know that there's a couple places that I can go. I know that there's a couple of Facebook groups, but I also feel like I need a one-on-one. So that may be something I look at. This one also stuck. This one was more along the lines of the book. I feel like maybe I need to do a little bit more research, not too much, because I am a researcher and I'll research all day long. I'll over-research. And so I feel like maybe I need to do just a little bit of more research just to kind of identify, what is the plan of action that I need. And I think that will help me to feel a little bit more comfortable going forward. This card represents not so much a Wonder Woman, but just really identifying that I do have some strengths because I have done this before. Yes, it is different. Yes, it is bigger. Yes, it's the finances, but everything's going to be expanded. So it means that the financial piece is going to grow, and there's all of these other things that I need to look at. But I think I am losing sight of the strengths that I do have. And so I think that this for me helps me to remember that I have done it before. I've done it fairly successfully, and I can tap back into those strengths and confidence and things like that. This card came up because I feel like I have spent a lot of time going back and forth and being in this in-between place, and I haven't done as much movement as I need to do, like exercising and walking, dancing, just the things that I do to create that movement and kind of work through those stressors. I feel like I've kind of lost and let that go for a little bit, so I need to pick that up again so that I can kind of work through that stress. This one, because sometimes I need to treat myself. And I feel like when there's a goal, and I'm very goal oriented, and so when I get focused, I get very focused, and I lose sight of a lot of things. And so I feel like every once in a while I do need to treat myself, maybe a little bit more, to take myself out of thinking about this stuff all the time. So I'm feeling better. I feel like I have a little bit more clarity. And as I'm looking back on the things that I thought were some of the problems, I'm looking back at this and I feel like it's not a bad space that I'm in. And even though the road ahead may feel like this, I know that I'm not alone in it, and there are other people who have traveled the road and traveled that path that can help me. And so I don't have to feel like, that's the takeaway, I don't have to feel like I'm doing this alone, because there are so many people out there that have traveled this path and have been successful, and I just need to tap into those resources. That's my aha. Duh. I love it. Okay. I love it. So now I just there's just like an excitement. There's a different nervousness that's going, because now I am coming to the realization that I can do this. I just need the proper support system. And I do tend to kind of go off on my own. But because this is such a bigger path, that I'm recognizing that I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. I need help. Yeah. So I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm noticing that my head doesn't feel as cloudy. Yeah, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling good. I'm excited. So, so what do I do now? Well, I need to think of 1 or 2 action steps. So one thing that I need to do is, and I thought about this before, and I think I need to go ahead and do it, but I thought about hiring someone to walk me through these next steps. I know that there are a lot of coaches out there, so I think that's the first thing I'm going to do is, and I'm just writing this down. And I have an idea of who it is that I want to reach out to. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach out to that person, see if I can sign up, and have someone walk me through this next process so that I can have support. I think the other thing I want to do is make sure that I'm more engaged in some of these other Facebook groups, and ask questions. I'm one that will just kind of read a lot, read people's comments, but I don't ask questions. And I think that will be helpful for me also, again, getting things out of my head. And I think that if I get that coach will also help me to do this step by step so I don't feel so overwhelmed. Yeah. So that's how I use these rewrite your story narration cards. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool process. If you are interested in purchasing your own rewrite your story narration cards, you can head over to my website, www.butterflyeffectccc.com. And you can purchase them there and start rewriting your story, just like I did. Talk to you later. Bye.